Welcome to the Bucher and Friends podcast, co-starring 10-year NFL veteran and Super Bowl champion, Will Blackman.
Manning from the end zone. He throws, and a deflect away, and it is picked off by Will Blackman, the former Giant.
Tim Dwight watches it hit, bounces, picks it up at the 10, slips a defender, fumbles the football. It's up for grabs. It's covered in the end zone by Will Blackman for a Green Bay touchdown.
And now, here is your host,
Let's send it over to Ric Bucher.
Ric Bucher.
Welcome to Bucher and Blackman, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends, part of the United WeCast Network. This is part 2 of our holiday special of Bucher and Blackman. We just had so much to cover that ultimately we decided to do it all in one shot, break it up into 2 podcasts. And so now we're delivering you part 2. Here it is. Oh, well said. Okay, speaking of which, you majored at BC. We have Mark Richt suddenly resigning at the University of Miami. Some people are shocked. Some people don't know what to make of it. Certainly caught people off guard. The timing seemed odd. You have any feelings about him stepping away the way that he did?
I don't know. With hiring and firing, all these sudden changes, there's so much that goes on that we just don't know about. We can look at it from the outside. Oh, maybe he was tired. Maybe he's done. Maybe he, whatever it is, something in there happened. Once again, people have been talking because they found a coach immediately. And Diaz, the local guy from Miami, from the area, went to Florida State. Dad was a mayor. They found somebody quick. That's all I can think of is like that was kind of planned. Like, hey, we're not going to fire you. Resign.
Right. To push out the door.
Yeah.
Push out the door.
We're not going to cut you, Favre.
Yeah.
Just retire.
Yeah. They're not pushing Jim Harbaugh out, but people made a big deal about the fact that I think he's 0-3 in bowl games and lost to Florida for the first time in some time and lost going away. Now, having watched that game, I was curious because I watched the replay of it. And he had a couple of NFL-ready players who didn't play, who made the choice not to play. They lost a slew of guys to injury through the course of that game. It was still a game, very much a game, and had one of those plays in the end zone that could have made it close, would have changed the whole dynamic of the game in the third quarter, went against them, and then Florida got rolling, and it looked like Michigan ran out of linebackers. Everybody is suddenly down on Jim Harbaugh, and there's 2 questions, and I don't mean to be facetious here, but does the game matter? Like, if you got guys who are going to the NFL and they decide they're going to sit out the bowl game, and then you have injuries where you're just stripped bare defensively.
If you're not,
do we not take any of this into account when you lose?
You know what? I hear all that right now, but this dude hasn't beaten Ohio State yet.
Fair.
Okay.
Fair.
That's everything. That's the problem. Listen, when I remember in the NFL when Lovie Smith got hired by the Bears, the first thing he said is we're gonna beat the Packers. I don't know how he said, but he mentioned us. He said we're gonna beat Green Bay.
Right.
That we're gonna take care of them.
Right.
And he won everybody over. Right. And he actually did. He got us a couple of times.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, man. It's like, dude, you got to take care of these guys. Michigan has only beaten them twice since 2003.
I'm not a Jim Harbaugh fan necessarily or apologist. I saw him with the 49ers and Stanford, both in the Bay Area, saw that run. I know people at the University of San Diego, and I spent some time around him, talked to him a number of times. He's an interesting guy, but he strikes me, and I've seen a number of coaches in a number of sports that are like this. They are great builders of programs. And he walked into the 49ers with talent there, and he happened to walk into Stanford with an Andrew Luck there. So his timing has been good. But he's also struck me as a guy in the means in which he builds a program and gets you up to speed and incorporates discipline and everything else. he wears on people, that there's not a longevity factor there. And I just wonder whether there's some of that with Michigan too. Like, you have all the histrionics, you have all that comes along with Mr. Khaki Pants, and then there's an expectation, okay, so are you going to deliver the big prize? Are you going to beat Ohio State? You're going to win a Super Bowl? Are you going to get us to that high water mark? And he never quite gets there. And the way in which he pushes everybody to get within range of that eventually doesn't become worth, when you don't get the big prize, it's like, okay, you're putting me through hell. If we get the big prize, I'm good. If we don't, you know what? I can go through this hell. I can do this someplace else I can get the same thing without necessarily going through the same hell. Does that make sense?
Right.
So I wonder whether some of that is going on at Michigan too. What do you, just in general, when you assess him, compare him to his brother? Who do you think is the better coach?
I think the more respected coach is John.
I would agree.
I think he is able to reach grown men differently. I don't know if John would do well in college. I know Jim will do well in college because he knows how to reach that group. That's his atmosphere, and that's, like you say, he came into the 49ers. That was it was a really good team. They had a lot of young stars, young talent. He came in there with this, fired up energy, got coach of the year, and did very well there. But it didn't. But then he ended up apparently losing all the players.
Yep.
Because that's the one thing about coaching the NFL is like we'll figure it out eventually. We'll see what's up. We'll find it out, because at the end of the day, like, our lives are truly on the line.
Sure.
This is our living. So once something is like suspect to us, we get suspicious, and we're going to find out what's going on.
Well, I've also felt that as a coach, I have to meet you halfway.
Right.
College is a little bit different. You're a little bit more at my mercy, and maybe deservedly so, because you don't know as much about this game and this level when you're coming in as the head coach does.
You are at the mercy.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, I'm sure there's some there's top level guys that come in that you at least have the opportunity to go someplace else. It might get tricky doing that. And there may be some extraneous pressure that getting you and keeping you happy is going to allow you a little more latitude.
Right.
But in the NFL, I see it as completely different. You need to be able to talk to guys. You need to be able to meet them halfway. You can't just tell them. You have to win them. You have to win them over. You have to convince them how you're going to make them better.
That's it. And just be straight up with us.
Yeah.
That's all it is. This is interesting. So this one off season, it was spring of 2013, and I already worked out for Seattle the season before, and the Seahawks GM John Snyder decided, hey, we're going to sign you in the spring. He said, now I know we're cool, and we know each other from Green Bay, and we're friends, whatever. He said, however, like, this is business. So even though, like, we're cool, you can get cut any day. I'm letting you know right now. He said, because we're building this team still, you can get cut when we draft somebody. You can get cut because free agents coming up. And I was like, that's cool. Like, let me know that.
Right.
That's great. Don't sit there and,
make
build
promises.
Me up. Build me
that.
up. Like, come here, fight. You got a chance. We definitely looking for this. And then you burn me, Right. But he did it the following year. He did it 2 years later.
What, he burned you?
It's funny because he was like, hey, we need a nickel. We don't have a nickel. And I end up signing. This 2015. I signed with them, and I started nickel the whole year. And then the last preseason game, I moved my family from Florida to Seattle because I was like, okay, I'm definitely made the team now because I played a little bit of the last game. Been with the starters the whole offseason. Moved my family from Florida, which is like the longest way you can go. Yep. And as my wife is unboxing everything, I get the phone call that morning, and I get released.
Oh, what was that like? So you get the call. How did you break it to Shauna?
Nah, it was just, we've been released before, but it was just like, it was tough. Oh yeah, it was ridiculously tough, because that right there put a huge, just a dent just in my soul and everything. So, yep. But
trust factor's out the window, right?
Oh, it was for a while, yeah. Even it's funny because she even asked the other day, like, he and I still talk. We still talk about players and what have you, and still have a cool relationship, a cool friendship. And she's like, how come like you're not still mad at him about everything? And I go, well, like that stuff is, it's business. It's business. Okay. I can't get personal, because when he released me, it wasn't a personal thing.
Who took your spot?
I think it was Marcus Burley.
And how was it that you spent all that time with the starters? Like, you'd been around the game, so you kind of knew the vibe. What didn't you see, or what happened that changed?
I have no idea.
Still to this day, you don't know.
So no, Burley he won it, but they signed Kerry Williams, who they ended up cutting 3 weeks later. He signed for, I think, 3 years, $18 million. I signed for like a bag of chips and a Xbox game. That was easy.
And you and John have never talked about it since. Like you've never asked.
He said that, because I joke with him sometimes I joked to him before about that. I was like, yeah, somebody decided to pick, Kerry Williams over me. He goes, that was me. That was my mistake. That was my bad. Yeah. But yeah, we're still cool because it's business, man. Like, I can't take that stuff personally. He didn't release me because he thought I was a bad person, or he didn't like me as a person. You take risk and you want to do things. Kerry Williams was, really good when he was in Baltimore, and, he took a huge risk and was hopefully that would pan out, and it didn't. So
I think that's is unique about football, is that it's so transient, whether it's baseball or basketball. Like, there are certain guys at the end of the roster that might be vulnerable. They got to be doing the right things and got to be good practice players, et cetera, et cetera. But they know where they are, and it might be a cost element. But it seems to me like across the board with football that the number of guys that can feel safe at any given time, let's say there's roster of 54. How many of the 54 can genuinely feel good about, I'm here this year, and I'm here next year? Like, what's this?
Maybe 3 or 4.
Really?
Gotta be.
Wow.
Because you have to look at it like, okay, did I just get drafted?
Yeah.
Maybe, you look at the first 2 rounds.
Yep.
Maybe 3.
That gives you at least 2 years.
Yeah, now because the CBA changed, that the younger guys are getting more of a chance. Also, too, if you're a quarterback who knows the system, maybe that's the case. But I learned too, even if you're like the bottom of the roster, or you're a guy who has great value, sometimes it doesn't matter what you do. It does not matter. I watched Justin Forsett on Fair Game with Christine Leahy, and he was saying when he was in Jacksonville, we were there at the same time. He said, I knew that no matter what I did, I could have showed up early. I could have ran the fastest. I could have learned every single position, which he did. He could have worked the hardest, done everything. He did everything in the book. He said, I knew I was not going to get a fair shot. I knew. It's easy to play. I thought about this the other day. It's easy to play in the NFL. That's easy. It's hard to stay healthy, and it's very hard to get an opportunity. It's damn near impossible, And what happened? Who saved him? Kubiak, who was with him in Houston. He brought somebody in who knew the system.
How do you make a decision when it comes to being hurt or injured? Because you kind of got your career, you got your health, you got your long-term health, but then you got your spot. Like, you got to constantly be worried that injury takes you out. They may just waive you and move on to the next guy.
Oh, and I've been a victim of that.
Yeah.
When I was in Green Bay, when I got hurt my first year, there was a guy who was an undrafted player named Patrick Dendy. He ended up playing my spot the whole year. When I came back, I was the special teams guy. Same thing. Next year I came back. I played a little bit, got hurt some, and then that's when Tramon Williams emerged. And then 2008, I actually played the whole year healthy. No, Jared Bush played that year too. 2008, I was healthy. 2009, I got hurt again. Jared Bush and Tramon Williams ended up playing very, very well, and they both ended up getting contracts. I ended up getting released because I couldn't stay healthy. So these were guys who I was supposed to be the guy next to Charles Woodson, next to Al Harris that whole time. That's what I got drafted for. That's what Ted Thompson held on to me for, because he did believe that, hey, Will pan out eventually. Just got to get him to stay healthy.
Yeah. How did that inform the rest of your career, having that experience then?
What that did to me was, well, what happened in 2009, I tore my ACL, dislocated my knee, and tore my meniscus. So my rehab process was awful. So it took me a while to get back because I had like multiple surgeries that didn't go well. But from that day on, from 2009 to 2017, I had a fight every single day. Every day I went to training camp. This wasn't like, oh, we got a cool yeah, I was a respected veteran who knew every position, who can play, who can make plays. Everyone trusted, everything you want. Locker room guy, I was everything. But I never went into training camp like, okay, like I got this.
Right.
Like I can chill, relax. Like, hell no. You know, there were times where it was the fourth preseason game. I'm like, let me play in the game. I never wanted to break because I didn't want to ever give anybody a reason, because I always gave them reasons before. And that's when I learned you can't give these coaches any reason to want to get rid of you, no matter what it is. That's why I said you can be great, but once you start popping off, start running your mouth, or start, sitting on the sideline having bad body language, or doing things that are going to go outside what the organization is trying to do, then that's when you're going to be in trouble. Why did I stay? I was able to stay around, one, because not only did I was able to like play at a high level and learn I had to learn multiple positions, because I'm like, well, shoot, if I'm not playing corner, let me learn nickel.
Right.
If I can't play nickel, well, you know what? Let me learn safeties, because what if somebody goes down at safety? I don't want them to bring somebody else in.
Sure. So
I'll go back there. I really became good at returning punts. They always looking for a returner. They're like, man, we don't want a turnover. We just want sure hands, like someone who can catch the damn ball. Mm-hmm. So I went back there. When I was in Jacksonville, I remember Justin Blackman got hurt, Cecil Shorts got hurt, somebody else got hurt. So they were like, damn, dude, we need another receiver. And they remembered that I played receiver in college. So I remember, ironically, me and Blaine Gabbert, we went out there. It was me, him, Jed Fish, and Gus Bradley. I had to run routes because there was a chance I was going to have to play receiver, that week. So I got to the point where I just made myself valuable, not only on the field, but off the field too. I was like a quiet leader. I went around and talked to everybody individually. I didn't do anything that was going to embarrass the organization. I was always respectful to everybody, the lady at the front desk, the people in the cafeteria. Coaches always saw me late, staying afterwards, studying. I would try to study and mentor other guys. And it's funny because I didn't go out and seek everyone like other players. I wasn't that guy to go around and, hey, come here. Guys would come to me. They would come to me and be like, well, you just always seem like you're in a good mood, like nothing really bothers you. I was like, nah, dude, like I struggle with stuff. I struggle too, and I'll tell you if you want to listen. And so I'll tell one guy like certain things that I've done and to help me out, and they'll use it, and they'll call somebody else, and then eventually, I got a cool group of guys that I can just lead on how this whole thing works. So I'm a survivor, basically.
Do you think you would have been like that if you hadn't had the experience, like the whole Green Bay experience and the injuries that made it a battle to get back? Would you have been that, or do you think you became that?
I became that largely because a lot of it had to do with my wife. She played a huge role because she understood, which is crazy. She understood like everything, like how it worked. She understood my struggle. She understood the business. She understood
how, why, what did Shauna know, or what was her background?
I don't know. That's why I proposed in like 4 weeks, because she just understood me.
I don't know what you know, but you know me. So let's get this done.
She used to sing and dance. She had like a little small record deal with Def Jam Records with Jermaine Dupri. Okay. And yeah, she did that before I met her. And but she's always like very, very understanding. She sees the good in like everything and whatever it is, and she's very aware. And so, she's totally the tough one out of us two. Like I'm the one who's like driven to go get it done, but she's the structure, the disciplinarian that keeps it together. You know what I mean?
Yep.
She played a huge part just in terms of like spiritually, like mentally, and then obviously physically with my changing my diet. And, anytime I got released, she's like, all right, let's go work out. Let's go train. Let's get ready for the next team. Like we got this.
Wow.
Yeah. Anytime something like that happened. Okay. Oh, you need surgery. All right, let's go get surgery. I'll take care of, all the kids. I'll do this and that. Oh, do you have to live in another city? Well, don't worry. I'll do this. Like I didn't have to worry about a damn thing outside of football.
Wow.
That's the cool thing about it. So I got to train. I got to go rehab. I got to do all these things to, I had to drive up and down the coast of California to get all these injections and shots and surgeries and stuff like that. So, yeah, she held me together because if I didn't, I would not have kept going playing football.
All right, we've talked about this before, but this only makes it more imperative that we have Shauna on the show because we need to find out.
She's funny. I got a funny story too.
Yeah?
She'll tell it.
Okay. All right.
After a game.
We will save that. And by the way, we have now gone so far on this podcast that we're actually going to turn this in to 2 podcasts.
About that was the whole plan.
Yes. We could give you just one long podcast, but no, you know what we're going to do? Is we are
stop putting Notre Dame and some damn BCS bowls because they can't get it done. 0-8. Stop putting them there. Join a conference, Notre Dame. Notre Lame.
By the way, so I do want to get your take on Alabama rolling over Oklahoma and Clemson doing the same to Notre Dame. I did not watch as much college football this year as I normally do, and in large part because at the beginning of the year, it seemed pretty clear that Clemson and Alabama were going to be where they are now, which is in the championship. And I know as college football fans, there's a lot of interest in how they get there, and there's plenty of other intrigue. It wasn't enough for me. And so I wonder whether it's the Final Four or what you saw in these 2 semifinal games. How do you feel about the fact that we're going to see Alabama and Clemson in the championship again?
Well, they clearly, hands down, have the best 2 head coaches in college football. The best 2 motivators, the best 2 game planners, just all that. They have the best 2 coaches, and they know how to get every single ounce out of every single player. And they were head and shoulders above everybody else when it came to the offensive line and defensive line. They were head and shoulders when it came to the quarterback position. Even though Kyler Murray is the one that won the Heisman, but Tua and Trevor Lawrence are just unbelievable guys who are going to be stars in the NFL. And those teams also, they have NFL talent all over the place. So, no, I agree. I watched it just because I was just, I wanted to see Notre Dame get beat down because not only did I go to BC, but my neighbors they're all about Notre Dame, and they had a big Notre Dame party. So, yeah, and people wanted to see, can Kyler Murray do it against an Alabama team? So I was like, sure, I'll check it all out. But I knew what you said, same thing. Clemson, Alabama, they were going to meet again. Unless they played, in the semis, which I'm sure they weren't going to. But
right. Is there any intrigue in terms of who wins this game?
No, it's going to be a pretty good matchup, I think.
Who do you like?
I can't go against Bama because I just think something special about that kid Tua, the quarterback. I just love what he did last year, and just not only what he did last year, he came in and took over and won the game, but then was the full-time starter this year and got them right back to where they are. Has surgery, balled out, in the game. Yeah, just his once again, his mindset. We talked about this earlier. Is the mindset. He's totally prepared, totally confident, and when the moment gets bigger, he rises up. He plays well. He plays better.
Is Jalen Hurts going to be a guy that we celebrate as a great college football player who, through difficult circumstances, still made star-like contributions, but we're not going to see nothing that he does if he goes to the NFL is going to rival what he did at Alabama. What's your take on him?
I think he'll get into a camp almost like Braxton Miller did. I can see something like that. But yeah, I mean, people want to celebrate it because he kept a good head on his shoulders. He didn't complain. But it's like, if you're on Saban's good side and, he's going to take care of you, I wouldn't complain either. But at the end of the day, he lost his job.
Right.
That's all it was. He's a quarterback.
He lost it, and he lost it to somebody who was better.
He lost it. That's it. He was a quarterback that wasn't performing to Coach Saban's standards. He lost it to somebody that's much better than he is. And that's all it is. So it was like, commend him for, when he came in and played well and helped win that one game, it's like, all right, dude. Yeah. Good for him. I commend him for sitting there and, not complaining about it. That's the mature thing to do.
Right. All right, that is it for the Bucher and Blackman extravaganza, part 2. The first time we've gone so long that we had to break it up into 2 parts, but we had a lot to get to with the NFL season coming to a close and the college football championship game being decided. Hope you enjoyed all of that. I hope you had a tremendous New Year's Eve and all the best wishes for the new year. We will be getting back on a regular schedule now, the Bucher and Friends schedule. But in the meantime, thank you so much for joining us in 2018, and we look for a bright 2019. Thanks for listening.